We have breaking news. The Leafs are moving on to the second round. Let's go live to CP24. Steve Ryan at Maple Leaf Square for more on how fans are feeling. And excitement is an understatement right now, Steve, with the fans soaking this in, something that hasn't happened in nearly 20 years.
2004 was the last time they got through number one round of the playoffs, I should say, and they were led at that time by Matt Sundin, who was an exceptional captain. How fitting is it that they get through round number one this time around? The goal scored by another exceptional captain, an exceptional leader and veteran in John Tavares. You know, Tavares was pegged as an NHL superstar when he was 14 or 15 years old. So when these scouts are out around watching hockey players, the young kids around the GTA or around the world for that matter, they got a pretty keen eye, and quite often they're able to peg the Sidney Crosbys, the John Tavares, the Connor McDavids, and you were bang on with him. And when the Leafs got Tavares, they knew exactly what they were getting, and they got him for this. And it was a Tavares goal with that adversity, with the injury, that got them to this point where now they are going on to round number two, some 20 years after doing it for the first time, Mark.
Yeah, to come back from a very significant injury. I mean, I remember that night that he was taken to the hospital by ambulance. Doesn't feel like that long ago. And this is also another thing we were talking about earlier, Steve. This is a Toronto-born player, one of several on the team.
Yeah, that's right. And that makes this team very special. You'd be hard-pressed to find another team in any professional sport where you've got a handful of players that are from that city. The New York Yankees, for instance, they've got a couple of local players, but most teams have to go out and buy their players and bring them in. I mean, not saying that the Leafs have not done that. They made a couple of very exceptional trades, but they've got 5 or 6 players who grew up, including Mitch Marner, grew up watching this team play. So imagine how special that is, that some of them are old enough to have come down here to watch the Leafs play. I think Simmons is another one. He didn't play tonight, but he's been an integral part of this club as well. So there are a bunch of local kids on this team, and it gets no more special than that. So this is why you're getting the reaction that you're getting from these young fans here tonight, because they've grown up watching these Toronto area players grow up with this club. And we stand here today where the Leafs have overcome their own adversity. Let's not forget, it was just a couple days back where they lost that game to Tampa Bay, and they really didn't play that well. And again, I'll go back to Samsonov. He didn't play that well. He let in 2 very weak goals, and when you're playing against a goaltender like Veselovsky, who's a Vezina Trophy winner, trying to get those pucks past him is a very difficult task. But tonight, man, did he show his worthiness by being as equal to that veteran at the other end of the ice, and he beat him. He beat him, and I would almost suggest that single-handedly he beat them rather, by taking away all those incredible scoring chances that Tampa Bay had, and he gave the Leafs an opportunity to come back and score a goal like we saw tonight.
Steve, wanted to also ask you, the Leafs general manager, Kyle Dubas' contract extension is coming due at the end of this season. Talk a little bit about kind of what this round means in terms of that, what this victory means in terms of that. Do you think the Leafs need to go more rounds in terms of locking that in for that general manager? Or do you think this was enough for an extension, just this victory, this series?
Okay, you're asking my opinion.
Yeah.
My opinion, right? Yeah, okay. So I think Dubas had 1 foot out the door, and now that foot's come back. Still could go out the door, but it's back for now. And he's gone out and he's put his own career and reputation on the line by bringing in some of the players that he did. He brought in Ryan O'Reilly, who is a veteran player, and if for no other reason, Ryan O'Reilly brought that calming presence to a young team. So he spoke last game about controlling the emotion, and O'Reilly said before the last game he was impressed with just how comforting it was to watch a young team be as relaxed as they were. And that's what is so impressive about professional athletes. And that's what Kale and I were talking about. Again, we go back to pressure is privilege. If you are put in a position where you're feeling that pressure, well, you're privileged because you are one of the elite. And Dubas brought in some elite players, some veteran players. I think he made a couple of trades that could have gone either way, and right now his foot was out the door. Now it's back in the door. We'll have to see how the next series goes. But so far, the pieces that he's put together, I think, have worked out quite well.
And Steve, again, this is just your opinion, but I was going to say, when you say 1 foot back in the door, does that mean, in your opinion, that they'd have to move on in the next round too to really lock that in? Or do you think just playing well in the next series would even be enough?
I think playing well in the next series would be enough. Those pieces that he put together, if they function the way he brought them into function, well then, look, sport is sport, and sometimes it's just the flip of a coin as to how it's going to turn out. But you want to make the opportunity as good as it can be for your team, and he put a lot of good pieces together, and it's going to depend on how they perform. If they go out 4 games straight, I think he's going to get the old boot out the door. But right now, he's been pushed back or pulled back into the thick of things because of the team that he put together. And the lineup that was put on the ice tonight, credit to the coach as well. He took out a Hall and he put in an extra. They at least went tonight with 7 defensemen and 11 forwards. That is almost unheard of to have 11 forwards play. Not unheard of, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's odd. It's not what the norm is. You normally would roll with 4 lines. Well, he went with 3 lines and 2 players. And that really, I think, threw things off for Tampa Bay, because how do you defend against that when you don't know who's coming out as that 3rd player on that 4th line? And he had 7 defensemen play tonight. And I think Bunting, well, who was brought back into the game tonight, added an extra bit of physicality. And you could see when Tampa Bay was going into the corner for the puck, their heads were kind of on a bit more of a swivel, because you play with a bit of craziness, discipline craziness, that has its own effect. And that may have been a key part of this tonight. So credit to the coach as well. So you want to talk about jobs. I think Keefe's job may have been on the line as well tonight, had the Leafs, not tonight, had the Leafs not won this series. But what he did, bringing in those players, both of them, their jobs are safe for now, in my opinion, Mark, for what it's worth. I'll send it back to you.
CB24 Steve Ryan doing an incredible job over there at Maple Leaf Square as the Leafs move on to the next round, again for the first time in nearly 20 years, beating and winning against the Tampa Bay Lightning. 2-1 final score.